My name is Anna. I'm 49 years old, and honestly, I feel kind of ashamed writing this story. But I swear, if you stick with me till the end, it's definitely worth it. It's one of those things that feels so surreal, but here I am, living it. I never thought I'd be sharing something like this, but here goes. You know how life just kind of hits you with the unexpected when you're least prepared. That's exactly what happened to me, and now I can't stop thinking about it. Okay, deep breath. Let me tell you what happened. So one morning I was just going about my day, nothing special. I was in the bathroom, washing up, when the damn tap in the shower burst out of nowhere. Water started spraying everywhere, and I had no idea how to stop it. I tried turning it off, but nothing worked, and water was still going full force. The whole thing was turning into a mess. I couldn't deal with it myself, so I grabbed a business card I had lying around and called a plumber. When the guy picked up, I wasn't expecting much. Just a regular repair job, right? But the voice on the other end, wow. It was this deep, calm, almost soothing voice. Totally not what I imagined a plumber sounding like. He said he'd be over in about half an hour, so I waited. When the doorbell rang and I opened the door, I was genuinely caught off guard. Instead of the older, maybe a little grumpy guy I was picturing, there stood this man, easily around 30, tall, with broad shoulders, and honestly extremely handsome. It hit me then that I hadn't been with anyone intimately for quite a while. Just hadn't crossed paths with the right guy, you know. But here he was, standing in my doorway, and I was feeling something right away. He got right to work and took off his jacket, and my God, his arms. You could tell he worked hard. He had these defined, strong arms. I couldn't help but watch him as he unscrewed parts of the shower, completely focused, moving so effortlessly. It made me think about how long it had been since I felt attracted to someone like that. And yeah, the attraction was instant, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. I wanted him. He worked fast, knew exactly what he was doing, and I just stood there pretending like I wasn't staring at him the whole time. I mean, I really tried to be normal about it, but every time he leaned down or reached up to grab a tool, I couldn't help but notice every detail, the way his muscles moved, the way his hands gripped the tools. I hadn't felt this alive in years. Something inside me just switched on, like this mix of nervous excitement and curiosity. I couldn't remember the last time I wanted someone this much, and I wasn't even sure why. Maybe it was because it had been so long, maybe it was the way he looked, maybe it was just him. Anyway, after what felt like hours but was probably only like 15 minutes, he stood up and said he was finished. He asked me to open the water valve to test if the repair had worked. Now, I'm no plumber. I don't know if I turned the wrong knob or what, but the second I opened the valve, the water came pouring out with the same crazy pressure as before, and it was right on him. It hit him full force, soaking him in seconds. He was standing there, drenched, and I panicked, trying to turn it off, but for some reason, my hands weren't working. I fumbled with the valve, embarrassed, because I knew it was my fault, but also I could see the water just running down his chest and his arms, making his shirt cling to him. It was a lot. Like I should have been more concerned about the water spraying everywhere. But at that moment, all I could think was how this guy looked even better soaking wet. He apologized like it was his mistake, saying it's never happened to him before. He laughed it off, completely cool about it, which made me feel a little better. The second time I turned the valve, it worked perfectly. The pressure was fine, no more chaos. He wrapped up the job, but he was dripping wet, and I felt bad. I couldn't just send him out like that, could I? So without thinking, I offered to throw his clothes in the dryer for him. And while we waited, I made him a cup of tea to warm up. I guess that's when everything really started. I handed him the tea, and he was standing there in just his underwear, looking a little out of place, but also completely relaxed. I don't know what came over me, but something just shifted. I walked up behind him, feeling bold, and before I could stop myself, I leaned against him, close enough to feel the warmth of his skin. I whispered, almost without thinking, "Do you want to warm yourself up against me?" The words just tumbled out, and I braced myself for rejection or awkwardness. But to my absolute surprise, he didn't push me away. He didn't laugh or brush it off. Instead, he turned around, looked me right in the eyes, and with this serious but kind expression, said, "I still have a lot of work to do here." The way he said it, I couldn't tell if he was talking about the plumbing or something else entirely. Then, before I knew it, we were kissing. Right there in my bathroom, while he was in nothing but his underwear and I was still wearing my robe. His lips were soft, but his kiss was firm, and I could feel the tension that had been building up just pour out of me. I wasn't sure what I was getting into, but I knew in that moment I didn't want to stop. What happened next? I still can't believe I'm saying this, but we didn't stop. In fact, it escalated quickly, faster than I ever thought it would. I guess when you haven't been with someone for as long as I had, the desire just takes over. One second we were kissing, and the next he had me pressed up against the bathroom wall, his hands running over my waist, down my back, pulling me closer. I could feel his strength in the way he held me, the way he handled me. It was firm but gentle at the same time, like he knew exactly how to touch me without being too rough. But when he started undressing me, that's when I really felt how real everything was. I was nervous, but also I couldn't stop myself. It had been so long, and I was already feeling things I hadn't felt in years. Desire, excitement, and yeah, maybe even a little fear. Fear that I was jumping into this too fast, fear that I wouldn't be enough for him. But all that melted away the moment I felt his skin on mine. He pulled me toward him, his chest pressed against mine, and I remember thinking, he's big. Like, really big. And not just in the way you're probably thinking, though that too, and I'll get to that in a second. But his body, his chest was broad. His arms wrapped around me in a way that made me feel small and safe. And I hadn't felt like that in a long time. I had forgotten what it was like to feel a man's body against mine like that, to feel wanted. But when things got more physical, I'll be honest, it hurt at first. Not in a bad way, but just because it had been so long since I'd been with anyone. And well, he wasn't exactly small down there. It was overwhelming. I wasn't used to the sensation, and for a few seconds, I thought maybe this was a bad idea. But then as I adjusted, the pain gave way to something else entirely. Pleasure. So much pleasure. He knew how to move, how to control his body in a way that wasn't rushed, wasn't frantic. He took his time with me, which I wasn't expecting. I thought it might be quick, like some spur-of-the-moment fling, but it wasn't like that at all. Every movement was deliberate. Every touch was filled with this incredible intensity. I don't know how to explain it, but he knew exactly what he was doing. It was like he was reading my body, knowing when to go slow, when to speed up, when to pull me closer or let me breathe. His hands were everywhere, holding me, caressing me, guiding me, and I felt like I was melting into him with every second that passed. And let me tell you, the way he held me, it was strong. He had these powerful hands, and when he gripped my hips and pulled me toward him, I could feel every muscle in his body working. It wasn't just the physical part, though that was mind-blowing. It was how present he was, how attentive he was to me. He didn't just go through the motions. He was fully there, making sure I was okay, making sure I was enjoying every second of it. Over time, the pain faded completely, and all I felt was pure pleasure. The way he moved, the way he looked at me, it was like nothing I'd ever experienced before. Every touch, every thrust sent waves of pleasure through me. It wasn't rushed or careless. It was intense, but in the best way possible. We moved together like we were completely in sync, and I never felt that kind of connection before. By the time we finished, I was breathless. It was like I had been transported to another world, and when I finally came back to reality, I realized just how good it had been. I didn't expect it to be that way, especially not with someone I had just met, but it was. It was amazing. Something inside me had woken up, and I didn't want it to stop. Afterward, I just collapsed against him, completely spent. I could hardly catch my breath, and my legs felt like jelly. He wrapped his arms around me, and we stayed there for a moment, still in the bathroom, with the warmth of the water from the shower lingering in the air. I could feel his chest rising and falling under me as I laid my head there, resting against him, trying to wrap my mind around what had just happened. His skin was warm, smooth, and solid beneath me, and honestly, I was in shock. I mean, this kind of thing doesn't happen to women like me, right? Or at least, that's what I thought. He started stroking my hair, and I swear it was the most tender moment I've had in years. I just lay there, completely still, feeling his fingers gently combing through my hair. His touch was soft, almost affectionate, and I couldn't help but think about how fast everything had happened. A few hours ago, I was just going through a normal day, dealing with a broken tap in the shower, and now here I was, lying on this guy's chest, feeling more alive and more satisfied than I'd felt in years. I remember looking up at him, and he had this calm smile on his face, like he wasn't in any rush to go anywhere. He wasn't awkward or hurried to leave, which made me feel even more at ease. It felt natural, even though it was anything but. I couldn't stop thinking about how good it felt, how he knew exactly what to do, how to move, how to make me feel things I hadn't felt in so long. The way he held me afterward, it was like he actually cared about making sure I was comfortable, even though we had just met. I didn't feel used or rushed. I felt, I don't know, cared for. It sounds crazy, but in that moment, I realized I had never had sex like this. Ever. Not even when I was younger, not with anyone I had been with before. I asked him if he wanted to stay a bit longer, but he smiled and told me he had other jobs lined up. Of course he did. This wasn't some romantic movie where we'd spend the whole day in bed together, but that was okay. We exchanged numbers before he got dressed, and I couldn't help but admire him again as he put his clothes back on, his body, his confidence, everything about him. It was like he didn't even realize how perfect he was, which just made him more attractive. Since then, we've met up a few times. It's not a regular thing. He's busy with his work, and I've got my own life. But when we do meet, it's incredible every time. He's perfect in every way. I can't even put it into words. The way he handles me in bed, the way he pays attention to every little detail. It's like he knows exactly what I need. Every time we're together, it feels just as intense, just as passionate, if not more so. I never thought I'd find someone like him, especially not like this. But I guess life has a funny way of surprising you when you least expect it. All I can say is, I hope everyone gets to experience something like this at least once. He's truly something else, and what he does in bed, it's beyond words. Just incredible. And honestly, it's not just about the sex. It's the way he makes me feel. Like I'm special, like I'm wanted in a way I haven't felt in a long time. Our next meeting was one of those moments that I didn't expect, but had been secretly hoping for. After that first encounter, I couldn't stop thinking about him. Every time I'd get a text notification, My heart would skip a beat, hoping it was him. And one day it was. It wasn't anything special, just a simple text. "Hey Anna, you free tonight? I'll be in your area." That was all it took for the excitement to start bubbling up inside me. He didn't even need to say more. The thought of seeing him again was enough to get me in this mix of nervousness and excitement. I immediately replied with a yes, trying not to sound too eager, but inside I was already planning how the night might unfold. I decided I was going to do something special this time. The first time had been spontaneous, completely unexpected, but this time I wanted to make it unforgettable. I wanted to feel that same fire, that same intensity, but on my terms, and I wanted to look amazing while doing it. So I went out and treated myself to new lingerie, something I hadn't done in years. A matching set, black lace, simple but elegant, with a little bit of edge. And stockings, of course, because if I was going to go all out, I was going to do it right. The hours leading up to his arrival felt like they dragged on forever. I kept looking at the clock, overthinking every detail, how I looked, how my apartment looked, what I would say. It felt a bit like being a teenager again, that nervous anticipation before a date, even though we'd already been so intimate. There's something about preparing for someone, though that's different when you know what's coming. The excitement is different. It's not just curiosity. It's knowing the kind of connection you're about to feel. I showered, took my time getting ready, savoring every minute. I wanted to feel confident, sexy. I slid the black lace lingerie on, the soft fabric clinging to my skin, accentuating everything I wanted it to. The feeling of the lace against my body was enough to make my heart race a little. Then came the stockings, the sheer black ones with a delicate band at the top. I stood in front of the mirror for a moment, adjusting them, admiring how they looked. I felt incredible, feminine, strong, in control. It had been a while since I felt this way, and it was almost empowering. I hadn't done this for myself in so long, but tonight it wasn't just about him. It was about me too. When the doorbell finally rang, my stomach flipped. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the nerves that had been building up. I opened the door, and there he was, just as handsome as I remembered, standing there with that same calm confidence that drove me crazy. He smiled when he saw me, and for a second, I could tell he was a little surprised. His eyes lingered on me just a bit longer than usual, and I knew he liked what he saw. That small moment of silent appreciation gave me the boost of confidence I needed. He stepped inside, and from the second he walked in, the energy was different from the last time. It wasn't rushed or unplanned. There was an underlying tension, but it was slower, more deliberate. We made small talk, but honestly, neither of us was really paying attention to what we were saying. The attraction between us was too strong to ignore, and after a few minutes, he reached out and pulled me toward him. The feel of his hands on my waist, his breath on my neck, it was like nothing had changed since the first time. That familiar rush came over me, the same heat, the same desire. This time, though, it wasn't quick or impulsive. He took his time with me, like he was savoring every moment. His hand slid over the lace of my lingerie, and I could tell he was enjoying it as much as I was. He ran his fingers along the tops of my stockings, tracing the edge where the lace met my skin. I could feel his eyes on me, taking in every detail. There was something about that gaze, intense but soft, that made me feel completely seen, completely wanted. We didn't go straight to the bedroom. Instead, we stayed there in the living room for a while, with him exploring every inch of my body with his hands. The way he touched me was slow, deliberate, like he wanted to memorize every part of me. He kissed my neck, my collarbone, down to my shoulders, and I could feel the tension between us building with every second. The anticipation was almost unbearable, but at the same time, I didn't want it to end. Eventually, we made our way to the bedroom, but even then, it wasn't rushed. I remember standing by the edge of the bed, and he just looked at me for a second, like he was taking it all in. I could feel the heat from his gaze, the way he admired the lingerie, the stockings. It made me feel powerful, in control of the situation, even though I knew we were both equally wanting the same thing. When he finally undressed me, it wasn't hurried or careless. He took his time with each piece, peeling the lace off my body like he was unwrapping a gift. The lingerie, the stockings, they were there for him to admire. And he did. Every touch, every kiss was deliberate, and I could feel the way his breath hitched every time he got closer. There was something incredibly intimate about it, something that made it feel so much more than just physical. It was like he was fully present, fully aware of everything he was doing, and it made me feel more connected to him than ever. Once we were in bed, the intimacy was breathtaking. He was just as attentive as the first time, but this time it felt even more intense. There was no awkwardness, no hesitations, just pure connection. He knew exactly how to touch me, how to move, and every time he did, it sent shivers down my spine. His hands were strong, but his touch was gentle, and the way he held me, the way he kissed me, it was like we had been doing this for years. The connection between us was undeniable, and it made everything feel so much deeper, so much more intimate. As things progressed, the feeling was overwhelming, but in the best possible way. There was no rush, no sense of urgency, just a steady build of tension and pleasure that kept growing with every touch, every movement. It was like we were in sync, our bodies moving together in perfect harmony. I could feel his strength in the way he held me, the way his hands gripped my waist, pulling me closer to him. And the way he looked at me, it was like he was completely focused on me, like nothing else mattered in that moment but us. There was a moment where everything just clicked. It's hard to describe, but it was like we were completely in tune with each other. Both of us focused on the same thing, the same feeling. His hands, his mouth, everything was working together to bring me closer to that edge. And when I finally reached it, it was overwhelming. The pleasure was intense, more than I had expected, and it left me breathless, completely lost in the moment. Afterward, we lay there together, his arm draped over me, my head resting on his chest. It felt peaceful, comfortable, like we had been doing this for years. There was no awkwardness, no need to fill the silence with words. We just stayed there for a while, wrapped up in each other, enjoying the warmth and the comfort of the moment. His fingers traced lazy patterns on my back, and I could feel his breath slowing down, matching mine. It wasn't just about the sex, it was about the connection, the way he made me feel completely seen, completely wanted. We talked a little afterward, but it wasn't anything deep or serious. It was just comfortable, like we both knew what this was, and we were both okay with it. There were no expectations, no pressure, just two people enjoying each other's company in a way that felt natural and right. Before he left, he kissed me again, just a soft, lingering kiss that made my heart skip a beat. It wasn't the kind of goodbye that felt final. It was more like a promise, like there would be more moments like this. And as I watched him walk out the door, I couldn't help but smile, knowing that whatever this was, it wasn't over yet.